Remember when PowerPoint presentations were worth more than Ford and GM combined? That was the EV startup gold rush of 2020. By 2025, most were bankrupt. Some managed to build cars that cost $300 million each to produce. Tesla survived. They didn't. Why? That's what we're diving into today. Let's start with Fisker, the poster child of this boom and bust cycle. Henrik Fisker knows how to design a stunning car. No one disputes that. The man gave us the BMW Z8 and Aston Martin DB9 for crying out loud. Picture this. You're cruising down Pacific Coast Highway in your ocean SUV. Solar roof drinking in California sunshine. Recycled fishing net seats beneath you. 350 plus miles of range ahead of you. The center screen rotates from portrait to landscape with a tap. That's the dream Fisker was selling. Reality? Your screen suddenly goes black mid-navigation. The door handles decide today's not the day to let you in. And that fancy automatic emergency braking? It might just activate at 70 miles per hour on an empty highway because reasons. Imagine dropping $60,000 on an ocean, only to realize your neighbor's toaster has more reliable software and better update support. At least the toaster actually lets you know when it's done. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind to 2020. Fisker goes public via SPAC, instant billionaire status. Over 60,000 reservations rolling in. Their asset-light strategy seemed brilliant. Let Magnus Steyr handle the dirty work of manufacturing while Fisker focused on design and marketing. Meanwhile, across the country in Ohio, Lordstown Motors was spinning a different kind of American comeback story. Remember their pitch? Hub motors in each wheel, no drivetrain, no transmission, just pure electric torque. They took over a massive GM plant, promising to revitalize a Rust Belt town that had lost hope. Workers cheered. Politicians showed up for photo ops. But here's a question for you. If creating a new car company was this easy, why aren't there hundreds of successful automakers instead of just a handful of giants who've been at it for decades? The answer came faster than a Tesla Plaid quarter mile. By mid-2023, the cracks weren't just showing. They were turning into canyons. Have you ever watched someone's dream collapse in real time? Because that's what happened next. By early 2024, Fisker was claiming 300 sales per day, but barely moving a few dozen. Those 5,000 Oceans sitting in lots weren't getting any younger. The company had $121 million left, but owed $182 million. You don't need an MBA to know that math doesn't work. Their last-ditch effort, a desperate courtship with Nissan. Picture Henrik Fisker walking into those negotiations knowing his entire company hung in the balance. When Nissan walked away in March 2024, you could practically hear the death knell. But if you think Fisker's fall was dramatic, just wait until you hear about Lordstown's Greek tragedy with a Midwestern accent. When trucks stopped trucking behind those factory doors in Ohio, chaos reigned. The Endurance pickup made it to production, technically, but the first batch of around 20 trucks revealed a brutal truth. Those revolutionary hub motors, not ready for prime time. Electrical problems triggered a recall almost immediately. Imagine being the fleet manager who bet on Lordstown, only to watch the company spiral into bankruptcy after delivering fewer than 50 trucks. Those hub motors that were going to change everything. They're now collecting dust in a bankruptcy auction lot. Electric last mile solutions didn't even make it to the starting line. Their executives were literally buying discounted shares before the SPAC merger, enriching themselves while regular investors got hosed. When the SEC knocked, the company folded faster than a cheap lawn chair. 0 vehicles delivered, hundreds of millions vaporized. And then there's Faraday Future, the automotive equivalent of Weekend at Bernie's, somehow still upright after burning through $3 billion and a decade of promises. Their FF91 ultra-luxury intelligent vehicle costs $180,000. Know how many they've delivered? Fewer than 10 cars, $3 billion. 10 cars, do the math. You could buy every Bugatti model ever made for that kind of cash and still have money left for a private island. So what killed these companies? Was it just bad luck, timing, or something deeper? The truth is brutal but simple. They were playing a game they didn't understand. Car manufacturing isn't app development. You can't move fast and break things when those things weigh 2 tons and carry your family. And this time, there were no lives left. Tesla nearly went bankrupt several times, and they had Elon's deep pockets and SpaceX engineering talent. For every Tesla that makes it, the automotive graveyard is filled with hundreds of Tuckers, DeLoreans, and now Fiskers. Let me ask you this. If you had $50,000 to spend today, would you gamble on the next shiny EV startup or go with a manufacturer that might still exist when your car needs service next year? For us enthusiasts, it's a bittersweet saga. We lost potentially innovative ideas that could have pushed boundaries. That California mode on the ocean that opened all windows with one button, pretty cool. Lordstown's hub motors, genuinely innovative. Canoe's skateboard platform, cleverly engineered. But here's the thing about the car industry. It's not a science fair where the coolest idea wins. It's a brutal marathon of manufacturing precision, supply chain management, and razor-thin margins. The few survivors, Rivian with its $12+ billion war chest, and Lucid with Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth, aren't just luckier, they were smarter. They knew car manufacturing is a game measured in billions, not millions. For those old-school gearheads who viewed the EV startup mania with raised eyebrows and folded arms, there's definitely some schadenfreude in watching these Silicon Valley disruptors crash back to Earth. But the EV transition continues, just with different players leading the charge. In 20 years, a mint-condition Fisker Ocean might be the Barrett-Jackson auction equivalent of finding a Tucker 48, rare evidence of ambitious overreach from a transitional era. Did you know that at their peak, these EV startups had a combined market value of over $60 billion? Today, you could buy the remains of all of them for less than what Tesla makes in a single quarter. That's not just a market correction, that's a financial meteor strike. The lesson for all of us: in automotive, execution trumps vision every time. You can't fake torque figures, and you can't hand wave away manufacturing complexity. So pour one out for the EV startups of the early 2020s. They dreamed big, failed spectacularly, and reminded us once again why building cars remains one of the hardest businesses on the planet. And the next time someone shows you a rendering of a revolutionary electric vehicle that does 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, has 500 miles of range, and will be delivered next year, maybe keep your wallet in your pocket. So I'll ask you again, if someone told you today that the next hyped up EV startup would crash and burn within 3 years, would you believe them this time, or don't? After all, what's the auto industry without dreamers? Just keep the receipt. If you've seen crazier automotive startup stories than these, drop them in the comments. I might cover them next. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more deep dives into the car industry's biggest triumphs and failures.